Mixed Media Gaming.
Welcome back to the Mixed Media Podcast. We are at the third segment, the gaming segment. We went over just now arguing with Reddit for the movie segment, and the first segment we did was a song. That's what it's called, song review by Ben. You can go back if you're not watching the live version. You can go back watch the recorded version, assuming they've been uploaded already. Right now, doing the gaming segment. My topic will be on Steam Profit and sort of where I'm at with that at the moment, because 3 weeks ago is when I started. It's supposed to last 4 weeks, but I'm cutting it off a bit early, and I'll explain why. There's some concerns and some unexpected things that have happened. Excuse me if this is a bit of a messy topic. I have like a bajillion tabs open of like a billion things to like reference. Many different windows. I have an Excel sheet. I have Visual Studio Code. I have a Notepad file. I have a browser with a bunch of tabs. But yeah, let's get into it. So I'll go over again briefly, very briefly. The idea of Steam Profit is to choose a portfolio of 5 games that are releasing in a given week that you believe will do the best. Only certain strings attached are that they have to be indie games, and for some reason they cannot be VR games. I don't get that one still, but whatever. I don't think I actually filtered by not VR game anyways. So what will be important is that the score you get is for each individual game. It is the number of players times the lowest price the game has ever been, giving you a essentially bottom end estimate of how much the game could have made it, a pessimistic estimate, pretty much. And we're judging these games, we're talking about them purely in terms of how much they made in terms of money, which doesn't necessarily make it a good game or bad game, obviously. It doesn't even make it like a good financial decision, even if it went, well monetarily, because, well, maybe you've ruined your record with a game or whatever, So there's a lot more that goes into it, but this is just sort of more about predicting consumer trends and what they will buy and what they won't buy, stuff like that. Okay, so as I was saying before, I created a bot to go around and give me a bunch of data on things. So I created a bot to calculate the Steam profit scores for me of every single game that I scraped off of Steam of games that are releasing. It was the week of, February 30th to February 6th. I don't believe that it's like I don't think that's like a standard week where it starts on Sunday, ends on Saturday. I think that's just like whenever I decided to do it. I picked from that day. I think it was the 30th, and I went to the 6th. So yeah, what I found was interesting is I went to the original article that had the instructions. It says that the score is to be the players times the lowest price. The lowest price was easy enough to find. There are actually a few websites that will tell you the lowest. They'll track the price of a game. They'll tell you the lowest price the game will ever be. One of them is called Steam Price History. The other one, which I don't actually use Steam Price History because it does not. Very luckily, it's web crawler friendly, but it does not have a comprehensive database of games. It only has more popular games. What do I use? I use here. I use something called Exophase, which has, as far as I can tell, literally every game on Steam, which is very nice. Even these new ones. That is a bit less crawler friendly, but they still allow crawlers on it. So I found my way to do it, and I get the lowest price ever from there. I believe Exophase has a bunch of different metrics stuff. I think they do a lot of achievements or play tracker. Not really sure what they do in general, but they have the lowest price. And I used it, so that was okay. The weird metric was the players. So what did he mean by players in the article? He referenced Steam Spy, the website Steam Spy, and he says that he got the player metric from Steam Spy. Now, if you go to Steam Spy actually has a nice API, which is a interface you can use when you're programming something. Essentially a nice way to interact with whatever you're trying to interact with, right? So in this case, Steam Spy. Steam Spy has an API, and their API does not say anything about a player's metric. There's a concurrent users metric, which I guess will be the players at this very moment, but it's not a very accurate measurement, because players are going to just vary based on, for example, time, right? So at night in US East, for example, pretty much all games that have English localization are going to receive a dip in players, and during like I don't know whatever prime gaming times are, so sometime during the day they'll be at their peak. So I figure concurrent users could not be what he meant, but there's no other players data metric, and I figure that they actually removed it. So my guess is that there was a players metric that meant something, and then Steam Spy said, well, it's not very accurate because they have they say that all their numbers are 98% accurate, so it'll be right at 98% of the time. I think they take that fairly seriously, so I guess they just said, "Is this number is too inaccurate? We won't have it anymore." That's my guess. I don't actually know. I actually contacted the guy who made Steam Profit, and I was like, "Yo, what did you use like for your players metric?" I messaged him that was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I think it was yesterday. He has not responded. So the thing is, I know he's seen my message, so he will not respond. That's what I'm understanding.
How do you know he's seen your message?
But so the only way I know to contact him is that he has a Twitter, right? So I have a Twitter that I never post on. I follow literally him and one other person. I only follow him out of courtesy because, like, okay, if I'm gonna message him, I should probably follow him first. So I did that. I messaged him there. I messaged him 2 messages because I messed up the first one with a mad typo, and then I responded again the second time with another typo. I was like, all right, I think he gets the point. It's good enough. Now I don't know if there are read receipts on Twitter. I don't know if you can see if something's marked as read. But I do know he has tweeted multiple times since I sent that message. So, yeah, I mean, he is a person with a few thousand followers. So, maybe it's a thing where he might get a lot of messages. Either he doesn't go through them because it's just too many, or he goes through them, but it takes time. So maybe I'm just going to, one day I'll get my answer respond to, or not. I don't really know. But yeah, I didn't get in time for this episode. So I had to go off something else. So there actually is a players metric on a website I mentioned before called Play Tracker, I think .net, and they track average players. I don't know what that means. Presumably, they literally just take the player out every, I don't know, say hour or something like that, whatever their sample size is, or sample interval is, and then divide by how many of those samples there are, and then they use the average players. They also have another metric that's the concurrent players, which is, as I said before, not useful. So I decided to use the average player metric. Okay. When I ran it the program, every single game came out with a score of 0. 0 Steam profit points. Now, how is this possible? Given that, well, theoretically, at least one person had to play something, which would bring the average players up to like 0.1, right? And then, at least something would have a score of like 0.2 because if the game's like $2, multiply by 2, whatever. The thing is that website seems to have, a bit of a margin of error itself. So presumably, if it's like below a certain threshold, it just says 0 no matter what, right? It's just like, yeah, basically no players, and we're not gonna put a number here. So everything was set to 0. So every game was so not popular that the website did not bother to put a proper number up, right? Now, so, okay, I had to go to something else to figure out, okay, what other metric could I possibly use that is actually more, I believe, accurate is the word, or precise? Accurate? Precise? Precise. I think precise.
I don't remember my statistics terms, man.
I think accuracy is the percent of times you actually get it right. Precision is the wideness of the range, I think. So, for example, if I said with like a 50%, as a 50% chance that the target is between 1 and 2, very precise, very little accuracy. If I said there's a 100% chance this number is between 0 and 1,000, low precision, high accuracy, I think. Hopefully I didn't get that wrong. But I'm going to use that, that definition. So I need something with a bit more precision that wouldn't do like odd round off things where it just goes to 0. So I went back to Steam Spy again, and they have a different metric, a metric called owners. Now, the Steam Profit guy specifically said he did not use this metric for a reason. It's because it is more gameable than the players metric. Because owners includes things that people who get the game for free, like review copies and stuff like that. And apparently, it's I guess it's pretty easy to inflate that number yourself, given that you can give out as many free Steam keys as you want, as far as I'm aware. So you can inflate the people won't necessarily want to buy your game. You just give it a free Steam key, and now you have a new owner, right? So how many people are actually going to do that to increase the owner count for people who happen to be looking at Steam Spy, for data analysis, I don't think, the average consumer doesn't do that. Doesn't go, oh, well, there are a lot of owners for this game, so let me let me also buy this game. More likely look at reviews, for example. But I decided owners is the best thing I have, and so I decided to use owners. The problem is the owners metric on Steam Spy is absolutely horribly inaccurate. That is the word, yes, inaccurate. So some of these games said that the range of player or owners was between 0 and 20,000. That is not useful. That is not useful. I mean, the Steam profit way is to always use the lower end. So it'd be 0 for everything. Everything is a score of 0. Well, okay, we're back to square one, right? Even then, I do not trust that because like certain things you can just go to the Steam page. You see it has like 7 reviews. So why would Steam Spy say that the minimum is 0? You think that's just something because Steam Spy does show the reviews, the number of reviews. You think that it would just make the lower bound at least the number of reviews for the owners, considering, unless it includes returns, you have to own it to review it. The thing is, Steam also tells you if a reviewer returned the game. So you'd be able to calculate no matter what the bare minimum. But I figure it's not worth Steam Spy's time to, go into like making sure that games that have, 20 owners don't say 0. It's like, I guess it's not that important for them, right? Fair enough. Okay, so I need another metric to use. And I mentioned it before, just now. I used reviews. I used the number of reviews a game gets. This is really bad. I mean, it's the best I got, I think, but it's not good because certain games are more likely to get reviews. I think that's the same across movies and songs. Wow, my brain really just can't comprehend that word apparently. But yeah, same across movies and songs where certain pieces of art will evoke like just a very passionate response. It doesn't even have to be like I really love it, I really hate it. Just maybe just a lot of people who really want to say it, at least, and I think this tends to happen with negative reviews specifically. Is people tend to be like, if a game's really bad, they'll be like, oh, let me make an angry review. Whereas if it's satisfactory, they'll be like, no, I'm just satisfied. This is what I expected. I'm not going to make a review. I don't feel any special type of way about this, right? So, but still, it's better than owners, it's better than players, concurrent or average, whatever. So this is what I ended up using. Now, let us get into how well I did based on this. So I don't have a reference, so I don't really know how well I did. So also one thing is when I looked at my Excel sheet, I highlighted all the games I wanted to choose in green. I only had 4 games highlighted. I don't know what happened to the 5th one. I don't remember if I just didn't have a 5th one. Like I didn't say anything about a 5th one. I looked through the list. I could not recall what the 5th one would be. So we're rocking with 4 portfolio right now. And actually, one of mine did pretty well. It actually got the fourth most Steam profit points of any game releasing within that week. That game was called Quest of Grail. Quest of Grail was a game that I mentioned before that is a sort of for multiplayer sort of 2D platformer race thing. It has a video trailer. It looks very nice. It has a publisher that has done things before as local multiplayer. It's got the features, right? It has things that'll be indicative of at least a decent game. And as I said before, the bar for me putting your game on my list was not high given the competition. So yeah, I put it on thinking that this looks like something that's decent. It released February 4th, so it is February 6th was the end. January 30th was the start. Okay, yeah, that's why it was released February 4th, and it counted. Okay, there ended up being a total of 14 reviews. 8 of those people bothered to actually write words, like word reviews, and all of them were positive reviews. So I also had my Steam scraper also check for how many positives, how many negatives, and I have that in a nice table. Yeah, Quest of Grail, it's 4th. Yeah, 4th. The amount of points it gets is 125.86. So I'd used reviews times the lowest price ever. So its price currently is $10. Now, I'm dumb and I did not put the lowest price on the table, so I can't actually reference that. I don't know if it dipped, but currently it's $10. I'm assuming in the short time span it did not dip in price, but there were games that did that, so that could be a poor assumption. But 14 reviews, well, that would come up to like a little less than 140, 125. So maybe the price did dip like slightly for whatever reason. But 14 positive reviews, no negative reviews, pretty good. Okay. That was the only game that I chose that appeared in the top 5. The next closest one was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that was Kiospoly, which was like a Monopoly clone thing. I don't remember what the gimmick is. Not that's not exactly what I say. Yeah, maybe the gimmick to it was. I can't remember, but it was very much like Monopoly. That you can see the score dropped off quite a lot though. It got half of Quest of Grail at 67.84. That had 14 positive reviews, 2 negative reviews. So it actually had more reviews, so more minimum owners, I guess. But it was priced at significantly less. So that is what caused it to such a low score. And the fact that it had 2 negative reviews does not bode well. I mean, that's not horrible as far as I'm aware. It's not a horrible ratio for a small game, but certainly not great. Yeah. So what were the top 5 or the things that I should have gotten but I missed? So number 1 was a game called. Actually, I'll go from the. Yeah, I'll start number 1. Number 1 was a game called The Healed Walled Loophole. Now, might be saying, I don't recall you talking about the game. Because I did not. Because, if you recall, I only looked at like half of the games that were releasing that week because I got very demotivated after looking at so many bad games that I said, there's no way there's anything else interesting. I was wrong. It's funny, actually, looking at my list, it was one away. It was literally one away from me actually looking at it, but I stopped right before it. So it kind of goes to show that like the order of the anticipated upcoming releases tab on Steam is not in any good order. Clearly, at least it's not indicative of sales. That is, but this game got a total of 43 reviews. It seems. Sorry, 45. 43 had actual words. 2 of them didn't have words. Just simply recommended. They were all positive reviews, by the way. So that's very good. 45 positive reviews. That is what I consider quite the success in a week. It's created by a developer named, I'm going to butcher this, but Jan Malichek. Maybe this person's German because the game takes place in Germany. Actually, the game has no German localization. Never mind. It only has English localization. It's probably not German. It is a psychological horror. It has a compelling trailer. So I looked up to see, okay, was there any marketing done about this game? So you just look at the name on search engine. And what's interesting is when you type it, it actually autocompletes. I don't think there's any other game that ever autocompleted when I was typing it into the search engine. So that is a good sign. The first thing that search result that comes up is a YouTube video link, which I thought was kind of funny. I'll post in the Discord. But the title of the video is, quote, ripped shirtless Michael from Vsauce here. That is the title of the video. And the thumbnail, I'll post the image so that it makes more sense. But the thumbnail is, well, a ripped man who I guess looks like Vsauce Michael. The only, sameness I can see. I'm gonna post it in stream chat, by the way. I mean, I don't think this is gonna like show up, in like YouTube chat, but on Discord, if you join our Discord, you'll see it. So yeah. But it's a guy, right, who's ripped. But the only association he has with Vsauce Michael is that he is bald and he has a beard. I do not see anything else. But I feel like if you look at the art style, it's so pixelated that, there's so little detail that, you can see that, oh yeah, that's Vsauce Michael. That could pass off. If they told me in the game, they said that is Vsauce Michael, I could be like, okay, I see it, because there's not much detail to go off of. But that was the first video at 2.6K views. The second thing down actually has 25,000 views. The next thing, 18,000 views. The next thing, 2.3 thousand views. So it's actually all these 4 videos are from 2 content creators. One called Neko the Sorgal, the other one called CJU Games. CJU Games is the one that pulled in the 25K and the 18K. So clearly, they got some traction. This game was actually put on itch.io, but I believe this was launched at the same time, so it wasn't like itch.io caused it. So I don't think it's not like because some games will launch on itch first with like a demo, for example. So it wasn't like big traction from itch.io, and then that caused sort of hype for the Steam release. Now it's worth noting that this guy actually made more money because there were actually a good bit of reviews on itch.io, but Steam Profit only, as the name suggests, takes into account Steam. But one day, as my bond gets more advanced, maybe I'll take into account things like itch.io. But I think it's a lot less easy to get data on games from itch.io, which is the issue. Okay, I'm wrong, because all I did was scroll down a little bit more and see there was a demo on itch.io, just a different page. And that worked because the second comment is release the full game, please, in all caps. So apparently people really enjoyed it. But yeah, this is something I have to look into more and see like what kind of marketing was done, how did it gain traction, like what's the story behind this game, maybe we can talk to the developer. That'd be interesting if I could reach out to him and figure this out, because it's a pretty big feat to be the most successful indie game in a week. That's pretty cool. I'd like to know about this process. Clearly he's doing something right. I'd like to know how he's doing things. So that was the number one thing on Steam profit thing. Second thing was a game called Dungeon Wizards. Another game I did not look at was in the second half. This game caught me by surprise. I looked at the Steam page because it is something that doesn't, strike me as something to be popular. It is literally a match 3 game, but just not Candy Crush. Not literally. It looks like it's a bit more interesting actually than Candy Crush. Technically, you don't have to match 3. The description says match 3, but it is just a match X game. You can match more than 3. It works in a slightly different way. It's thematically, as the title says, Dungeon Wizards. The theme is wizardry, I guess. But overall, not like anything like, oh, such an innovative new concept or whatever. This, as far as I can tell, doesn't really have much of an internet presence. When you look it up, you don't really get much. But this reminds me of a GDC talk that I once watched. I forget who was speaking. I forget what he was saying. But I do remember one thing that struck me as wild. The guy made a living off of making match 3 games over and over and over and over again. Him and his wife, that's what they did. They just made a bunch of. So if you don't know what a match 3 game is, it's Candy Crush or Bejeweled. It's that kind of game. So they just took the formula. I believe he added like random like little mechanics to each variation. Essentially, I think there were a lot of them are thematic and like this is a Halloween match 3, and I'm gonna release it like around Halloween. Christmas match 3, that kind of thing, or release it on Christmas, that sort of thing. And he made a living off of it, and that really opened my eyes to like, okay, you don't have to go big and like go crazy, right, on a game, and like you don't have to be you don't have to be an Among Us, like, what I'm saying. You don't have to be like you made a game and it went viral kind of thing. You just need to be good enough, and if you can do that consistently, then make yourself a living. Now, the way he's speaking about it doesn't seem like he's making a great living, to be clear. And it wasn't like he was living comfortably necessarily. It seems like he pretty much had to, at least I think he described some struggle, at least during the early parts of, this sort of business he was doing, where he had to make sure every single release actually succeeded, or else there'd be some problems if they did not succeed. This was his only job at the time, or I presumably still is, I think. So he just only had that to go based off. I think he's doing better now, but once again, not necessarily living the life like an Among Us dev, let's say, right? So that's what this reminded me of. It's just like this guy got second place of the week just by making a match 3 with an interesting. Maybe this is the same guy. I actually don't know. What if this is the same exact guy from the GDC talk? The developer is Tubby Turtle Studios. Let's see if they have other games under their belts that are also match 3s. No, this is their first game on Steam. Okay, so it's not the same guy. Probably. Oh, my bad. I missed one. That was third. I missed one. As I said before, I'm a bit scattered in terms of all the data I have here. It's not presented in a nice way. The second thing is actually called Roma Invicta. So Roma Invicta is Latin for Invincible Rome. It was printed on Roman coins as like a motto, I guess, Roma Invicta. So this game got a total of, how many reviews? 44, I believe. 39 of which left actual words. Just verify that. Sorry, 40. Oh yeah, 44. 39 positive, 5 negative. You see like these like differences in ratios and positive negatives. You can see like certain games probably attract more reviews, and like it doesn't scale linearly, and it's probably like not necessarily because the quality of the games are like that different. It just might be that you're more likely to say, "Oh, this game's bad, but this game's good" for certain types of games, which kind of know. For the purpose of this, the game sort of reminds me of like a Napoleon Total War type thing. It's entirely 2D though, top down, and it seems to focus, at least based on the trailer, more on the strategic side of things, the large scale. Whereas not Napoleon necessarily, just Total War in general, is has more of a focus on the tactical side, the small scale side of things, like the individual battles. Whereas this game seems to have more of a focus on the large scale movements of troops and stuff like that. And I'm not actually sure if you can control your troops within battle, or if it's all AI like played out. from the trailer, I don't see any sort of like micromanaging troops and stuff like that. It seems like it only going to affect things on the large scale. But I don't know. I could be wrong. But if you can do that, the trailer does not effectively show that, as far as I'm aware. But it does look like a cool little like game thing. It's only $6, so that's that. What I thought was interesting is another GDC talk from essentially I cannot remember who he is, but I remember what he said, that games that sell, I believe, under $15 tend to essentially make almost nothing in the long run. So it's very possible that for the first week, this is pretty much all they'll ever make, and they'll never make anything else. Or, they'll make a little bit later, but they'll have that sort of, that tail that you'll see in every other GDC talk, I feel like, about the economics of video games, where there's a big peak where people bought the game, and then, it tails off, and then people stop, like an exponential decay graph, essentially. People, less and less buys per day. And, well, that's more of an old school trend. Nowadays, it tends to be a bit more convoluted than that. But for games as simple as this, it might actually just be as simple as just like exponential decay very quickly. You get these 39 or these 44 reviews, and then you end up getting like 4 reviews over the next 2 years, kind of thing. Maybe not that bad, but at least the data seem to suggest that games that sell for under $15, they don't really do that well after release. Now, this brings the question of what is causing it. Is it the price causing that, as people saying like, oh, this game's like $5, it must not be good, the developer doesn't even value it as that much, I'm not gonna waste my time on buying this game? Or is it like the developer actually knows they're making a bad game, kind of thing? They value themselves appropriately. They say this game is worth $5, and people who do tend to do that might actually make just bad games in general or something like that. People who make good games will value, since games tend to be long, that means if it's valuable, then it might be over $15 just naturally by the fact that it's long form content that is valuable, right? I don't know what causes it. It's kind of, that's something that's definitely up for debate and interesting, but I guess that's outside the scope of this topic. Sorry, there's one more. The 5th game, they got 106 points. 13 positive reviews, 14 negative reviews, 17 total. It's called Mind Right, but Art Right is RITE. It was a visual novel. And what this whole thing has taught me is that, or at least one of the things, is that visual novels are a lot more popular on Steam than I thought they were. They definitely have an audience that I did not know existed. It's not like a crazy amount of reviews, but it's like, it beat out like everything else. It got top 5. And there were also other games, less notable games, that were also visual novels that also, got some reviews. The majority of the games on the list got no reviews on the list. So most things got 0 reviews, like a vast majority of things. Actually, maybe not a vast majority. A little over half-ish, looks like. But the things that did get reviews, like, okay, probably the most is like 1 review, and then a couple of 2 reviews. It's very uncommon to see anything get past like 10. Like 10 seems to be like, once you get past that, it seems like it just exponentially gets better, right? If you get past 10, you probably didn't get 20, you probably got 30, that kind of thing. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say for this. Hopefully I can next time have something a bit more organized to say, something a little less like scattered about, of like a bunch of topics crammed in. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for now. Hopefully this bot can get a bit better, get more data, because having to manually do all of these things and looking things up for all these games is kind of tedious and kind of hard to do. So yeah, that's all.
I think it's an interesting concept in that, like if I were interested in popular music, I think it would be interesting to see if there are a way to do something somewhat similar to, obviously the amount of music that's released is like ridiculous, and also way more platforms where one can release music, but it seems like an interesting concept. Like if you could find a way to do it, to get your like finger on the pulse of audiences at large.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just a lot more complicated with music stuff.
Yeah, in fact, for even for indie games, like you could definitely make a tool that people would probably use for like trend analysis and stuff like that, based off this concept. And then you could even make a game about games if you wanted to, which would be interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, the guy who made Steam Profit originally had a website up for it that had it's down. The website, you go to the link, it's broken. But I used the Wayback Machine, which lets you look at essentially pages that used to exist that were saved. And so I used it to look at what the page looked at before. This is actually me trying to figure out what did he be my players metric. I was like, is anywhere on the website say where he got this players data from? It does not. But I also want to know why it stopped too. But it didn't say that either, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I had some tools. Like I had a button that will show you the list of upcoming games, which is something that took, presumably he had to go through the same process I did, where like he had to format the dates and stuff like that. I'm interested if he did better than me on that, if he had a better technique for figuring this stuff out, or if he got the same or worse results. He had something that auto calculated the things that received the best score for the week. And that's also, something I would like to use. That's a lot better than programming myself, which I guess I've been doing. But yeah, that's something I would like to make, available to people. As I'm programming this, I'm always, thinking of it like, how do I make this extendable, right? Where I can keep building on to this thing and adding more features, adding more points of data that can be gathered, and still making it, relatively easy to use. That kind of thing can be easily analyzed by people.
Yeah, sounds like a cool project for sure. Well, yeah, that was awesome. We will be back next week, Monday at 9:30 p.m. If you're listening post, don't forget to share if there's anything of interest to you, or hit the like button. And if you are so inclined, you want to get future stuff, reminder to subscribe and hit the bell as well, I think is what I'm supposed to say on YouTube. Do that, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for watching, listening.
Look, tell a man no trouble. I don't want beef, man. I just want vibes. Big man like me, no need for the telephone hype. I got too much getting online. One rule, then dead I'm on site. Wrong move, I bet they gon' ride. No need for the telephone hype, nah. No need for the snoozing. Big whip outside, I'm cruising. Big stick inside, no losing. Better watch out for the snake and Judas is. Don't ask them who this is. I bet they know what I'm moving in. I bet I show it into a dim. How you hate and then lose again? How you hating my vibes? Why you wasting my time? Getting hype on my line. Tell a man I don't want feedback, I just want relax. Brand new whip, two-tone, I need that brand new hit. Like lean back, brand new bits I live in. We pack, man, you never gon' like us. Get them on sight now, let them on light. That way they know I'm more righteous. Look at my life, I'm living alright. I'm nice, you know I'm alright. Cause looking like Christ, no need for the hype or fight or telephone vipers. No need for the telephone vipers.